Welcome to Rock Buzz. Today's episode is in honor of the late Kurt Cobain, as this week is the 30th anniversary of Kurt unfortunately taking his own life and putting an end to the brief career of a band that had the unique experience of changing popular culture permanently. If you were alive when Nevermind was released, you will probably remember that the airwaves were dominated by cheesy hair metal bands, and they got worse each year. When Smells Like Teen Spirit first appeared on MTV, it was one of those rare moments in life when you actually felt a seismic shift taking place in music. I suppose the only thing comparable for the elder generation would be the Beatles on Ed Sullivan in 1964. The Teen Spirit video was dark and weird. You actually stopped what you were doing and had to take notice. The sound was raw and unapologetic, so refreshing. Nirvana's sound defied convention. They changed everything. And many bands afterwards, like for example Bush, and others were nothing but rip-offs of Kurt. With only 2 major records in 3 years on the national scene, Nirvana certainly transcended mere categorization. With the recent release of Utero Deluxe 30th Anniversary Edition, and the announcement by the BBC of an extensive forthcoming documentary, we thought we would delve into the archives of 1993, a time when Nirvana's future seemed boundless, and their impact on music was still unfolding. Jim Spencer's words here capture a moment just as Nirvana's In Utero was released, igniting a firestorm of critical acclaim and cultural resonance. Now let's let the magic of the internet take us back to a time when Nirvana's destiny hung in the balance, poised on the cusp of greatness.
Will success spoil Nirvana? That seems to be the question filling more and more minds within the rock community these days. Perhaps it's just the natural cynicism that seems to creep into the psyche of anyone who views a multi-platinum band that never had any desire of being a multi-platinum band. Let's face it, no one is about to confuse the sonic thrashing of these Washington staters with the radio-ready sound of Bon Jovi or Aerosmith. From their very inception, Nirvana have lived in the precarious netherworld known as On the Edge. Reports of drug problems, record label problems, and inter-band problems have filled the wires since the group's major label debut, Nevermind, turned these unassuming rockers into international superstars. But now, with the release of their latest controversial effort, In Utero, guitarist vocalist Kurt Cobain, bassist Chris Novoselic, and drummer Dave Grohl have become caught up in even greater vortex of rumor and innuendo that has turned every day of their lives into a virtual media circus. They do their best to avoid the spotlight, but with the new album out, the video for their debut single Heart-Shaped Box filling the MTV airwaves, and a new tour scheduled to kick off, Nirvana seem to be caught between the proverbial rock and a hard place. What's a band to do? They've already publicly admitted that they hate doing press interviews, which if done in sufficient numbers with sufficient panache, probably would help in eliminating many of the supposed misconceptions that surround the band. They try and maintain as low its profile as possible, only appearing at events like MTV's recent Video Music Awards after sufficient arm twisting takes place, according to a well-placed source. There are no easy answers for Nirvana, yet in the heart of hearts these guys know they wouldn't have it any other way. You can't go out there and select who's going to buy your records, Cobain stated, and you can't control what they write about you. Maybe we would if we could. Yes, Nirvana might very well want to control the media as well as who has access to their music. On more than one occasion, Cobain has indicated that most of the people who bought Nevermind had no idea what their music was really about, and following a flood of drug-related tabloid headlines and even the prestigious Newsweek magazine proclaiming the band's label, Geffen Records, had rejected most of the material on In Utero, a claim which proved to be totally untrue, one can understand the band's dissatisfaction with the way the press has perceived and presented them. These really aren't the hard rockin' Guns N' Roses style rebels that some critics like to create. These are thoughtful, shy, artistically inclined musicians who have been somewhat reluctantly thrust into the spotlight, yet they're not going to let their newfound fame change their attitudes one bit. Journalists seem to want to see us fail this time around, Cobain said matter-of-factly. I don't know why that is. And I don't think they really know why that is either. I don't think we've given them that much reason not to like us, but the fact that they don't doesn't really bother me. What bothers me is the way they sometimes go after you. Still, Nirvana are far from the savage innocence they might portray themselves as being.
They know damn well that by writing songs with eyebrow-raising titles like Rape Me, they're going to get more than their share of critical barbs hurled their way.
So what if the song isn't really about what it appears to be? Sometimes it seems that, like small children demanding to be noticed, Nirvana are bound and determined to maintain their outrageous, yet unquestionably socially relevant stance, no matter how much damage it may do to them in the long run.
We've put up with a lot of crap, Cobain said. But we know that we're being true to our own beliefs. If the media doesn't like that, I don't really care. Despite all the talk of media baiting, media hating, and the like, the bottom line is that In Utero is a major step forward for Nirvana. While even its strongest supporters will probably admit that Nevermind often seemed like a disjointed assimilation of ideas and musical styles, there is a flow and a pattern to the new disc that its predecessor sorely lacked.
While there may not be an immediately apparent hit along the lines of the historic Smells Like Teen Spirit, on tracks like No Apologies and Heart-Shaped Box, the band has expanded their sound and style while steadfastly maintaining the quirky quasi-metallic characteristics that first won them acclaim.
Songs should fit together into a solid body of work, Cobain said. That's what makes an album work. If the songs don't work together, then usually the album doesn't work either.
So with In Utero out and making the expected big splash in the sales category, this little band from the outskirts of Seattle is facing their next career hurdle. What size halls to tackle on their next tour? The members of Nirvana have stated their hatred of the sterile atmosphere presented by most arenas, preferring to take their live shows to clubs and small theaters. But with public demand to see them at a near fever pitch, will the group succumb to pressure and allow themselves to play bigger halls? It's a question even their closest confidants don't know how to answer.
That's a question they're not looking forward to coming to grips with, one insider said. There are forces telling them that playing bigger places and letting more fans see them is the correct thing to do. I don't know if they're buying it though. I'm pretty sure if it were up to them, they'd just play the same kind of clubs they've always played. I think they enjoy that kind of audience interaction. That's when they put on their best shows. I just couldn't picture Nirvana on a stage at that Forum in LA. I think they'd feel out of place. So as it so often seems with Nirvana, there are still so many questions to be answered. While most bands dream of having smooth-running rock machines where all their decisions are made and all their problems are handled, these guys seem to prefer living in a chaotic domain where there are always more questions to be asked and few answers to be given. Perhaps it's the band's way of keeping everyone, including themselves, on their toes. Or perhaps it's just their special way of dealing with success. With Nirvana, you just can never be sure. Help us keep rock alive. Please hit like and subscribe.